Welcome to my final, as in once the event ended, world record asterisk, as in I'll reveal more after showing the replays of each lap in higher quality. For the Gran Turismo Sport Tokyo Expressway Central Outer Loop daily, it's monthly now, race that ended Monday at 3 a.m. Right after this intro will be in the quality of PlayStation Share Function and edited in Share Factory of the laps that I made from this time around that technically was the fastest in the entire world. Asterisk, you'll see when I get there. And from the previous event last October in which I had the fastest in the world for, well, what may be a more legitimate lap. I'll get into that again after I show the replays themselves. So, yeah, folks, let's get into it because it's quite interesting and a bit sad depending on how you want to look at it. if you paid attention to the miles on each of the runs, that's sort of kind of a beginning of the butt. But now we're getting into it. To begin with, y'all saw each lap. The first lap was from this time around, and yeah, it was the fastest in the entire world. That's why I showed after that lap the other of the three regions for the Oceania, whatever reason. I used the account that I made initially to try and play GT7 as early as I was allowed to. But because still things I can't understand, but it somewhere or another it's Sony's fault, I still couldn't play it early, so I had no use for that account, where I got a use for that account again. Because I had a way to look at those rankings, and I went ahead and got the top spot there, because why not? And then for the Americas region, I was faster than anyone this time around there, too. As y'all saw in the second replay, though, yeah, somebody was a faster cheater than me. Last time, let's start with this time first and go from there. To kind of start with, well, the going in general, is that I made a new account just a day or so before this event ended called Sophie GPT because, well, Sophie's the big thing for Gran Turismo, and ChatGPT is taking any chance that I have to have a realistic career. So this is literally now forced to be my career. So yeah, at least I'm the fastest in the world in the dead game. Yay. So yeah, I figured that would be a good name for my account, and the reason I didn't have an account in was the rest. I don't even really know what you call that reason. It's Europe and Africa and like the rest, I guess. Like, I know Americas and Oceania. I don't even really know what the other, but you get what I mean. It's I made an account for England just because everything would already be in English anyway, and that was definitely a hoop to jump through. I had to actually show some type of reference that I was actually over 18 years old, which is data mining and corruption and incredibly shady. Maybe because I made an account for England, that's just a law in England and it's not in the US or something. I don't. But nonetheless, it's incredibly shady. But I showed US information and it still counted it, so I don't know. Maybe I beat the system or whatever. But it also said that my account wasn't verified, even though I did the steps to verify it. But nonetheless, I got the lap in. So you know what? Even if I can't ever use that account again, it worked for this time, and this time I beat everyone in the world. Yes, folks, I admit I cheated. Like, straightforward. Not gonna deny that in the slightest. But everyone else in the top 10 for the rest reason ought to say Europe-ish reason. And yeah, I was first this time around. Honestly, though, again, this is where it gets to the miles, though. Once this lap ended, had 37 miles. And on the next lap, showing it from last time, I had well over 300. I can't remember the exact amount, but I think it was actually closer to 400 than it was 300. So, yeah, and then that's just in one day. This is all of the miles that I did while riding whatsoever for this event this time around. 37 miles of practice for wall riding, and I was faster than anyone in the world. So this kind of gets to another point that I made, is that yes, there was someone last time around, and the physics were obviously the exact same last time around because GT7 was already out then, so of course they're not going to change the physics of GT Sport once GT7 was out. So the physics in October were the exact same as they are now, so there's no difference there. But the difference is that yes, someone was a faster cheater than me last time. But folks, I mean, this shows it. The miles right there. And I guess too, you can go on each of the accounts that I showed, which are all the ones that I use, and you can actually look into the miles. I only put 37 miles of wall riding practice into it, and I was 2 attempts off someone that put a whole heck of a heap of wall riding miles in. Now, granted, this is something I would say straightforward, is that because it's the same person for both accounts, but there's USR Senna and like Bull Leo Senna or something like that from Brazil is an extremely talented driver for this track, and I'm not going to deny at sight. But there's also no way to prove it, I don't think now, because the mileage on each account only goes back so much for day-to-day details, and then once it's after a certain amount, then you can only see month to month and stuff like that. So ultimately, there's no way to prove it for sure. But back in October, I looked on the Leo Senna Bull and the USR Bull, which is the same person's accounts, and there was many thousands of miles. I can't remember exact amount because I didn't know I needed to know it once all this came to be and such, but that is one of those where you just kind of have to trust me on that. But I mean, it's 100% indisputable proof that, yeah, you could actually go currently do it quickly because, again, after a certain amount of time, it shows it week by week and then month by month. But you can actually check on the Selfie GPT account 37 miles. 37. That's all of it. So, you know what, folks? If I'm 2/10 ish, I can't remember the exact to the decimal point, but about 2/10 off the world record for cheating in 37 miles, then I hopefully y'all can believe me when I say if I were to put in 10 times that amount of miles, then I probably could have got 2/10 of a second. And you know what? Last time around, in total, without cheating, and again, there's no way to prove it completely, but I feel like just showing this in general in 1 day of miles shows that I did actually put over 10 times of miles into it of not cheating last time around in October. Between all of the counts combined, I would say I put around 4,000 miles into this event last October. I didn't have the Selfie GPT account, but between this account, the alt account GTS that I made for my alternate account in Gran Turismo Sport, so the name fits there, that I only did last the first challenges on, I did a whole heck of a heap, so I actually got quite a lot of miles there. And then I still had the Mopar Time Wizard account that I used, again there just to see the rankings of that reason. In hindsight, I should have gone ahead and made an English account or anything for the Europe-ish region. It wouldn't have been named Selfie GPT back then because Chat GPT wasn't public back then. It was like GPT-2 or whatever. You can do research on that. But nonetheless, it wasn't a thing, so it would have been called something different. So, in hindsight, I should have gone ahead and made a Europe-ish account as well because then I could have sold its rankings. But no, in hindsight, I didn't really realize to do that because, as I said, I made the Selfie GPT account with a day left, and this time around, last time around, I realized that people were cheating within the first few days of the entire event. And the event both times ran for about a month. I just didn't really have the motivation last time to make an account for yet another country when I knew there was so much cheating right. And given that this time around, this entire region for the Europe is cheated, last time around I'd probably bet on there was some cheating going on too, but there's also no way to prove that either. There's no way to actually go back and look at the rankings of a current event or previous events anymore after some time in early 2022-ish. I don't know the exact date. The way that I used to do that is I would go to Kudos Prime and then to the Gran Turismo Sports section then to leaderboards, then to daily events, and it would be updated for all of them, and you can still see the ones before early 2022 is, but for some reason, I don't know if it's site related, I don't know if it's something just isn't being updated on the Gran Turismo Sport side of things, I don't really know. But there's no way to actually see those rankings. When you click on the rankings for events past, then it just doesn't show anything. Like you can click world rankings or the rankings for the individual regions, and it just is a blank page once you click on that. So again, there's no way to actually look up or prove any of that. So that's the ultimate asterisk more than anything. It's not the cheating or not cheating or whatever. It's just that there's no ability to actually prove any of that. So, I mean, the way that I'm just kind of going on it is that hopefully I can provide as much or more information than anyone else, and that I've made enough of my name for myself to not straight up lie for both times come up. Granted, one of the things I feel like is indisputable is that yes, I did end with the fastest time in the world for this time around, but I wasn't actually able to show it at when the event ended at 3 a.m. for all three of them, or at least as close as I could for all three of them, because, well, there's this, folks. It should be what's in the background for the rest of the video. Is that even after getting the wall riding lap when I did, and you can actually look on there for what time it was. It shows there. I can't remember what time it was, but it was with a few hours to spare. I went to then try and go ahead and beat the lap for the America's region in a clean way. I ran a 127.507, and I showed proof of that as the second lap I showed in the higher quality video quality footage in October. So I figured because I needed to beat a 127.687 or something like that, a high 6, then I could do it relatively easy. And honestly, no, I didn't end up beating it. It would be what's in the background for the rest of this. Straightforward, you saw it at the end. I did not end up beating it. But in this time around, as I said, I only put 37 miles of wall riding effort into it. This time around, over last month, and again, you can't see day to day, so it is yet again. Trust me with that. I think maybe you can still go on Kudos Prime and see individual players' mileage like per day of logging in and stuff, but there's no way to see specifics of where those miles are run or anything like that, so all that's relative. But anyway, the point being that I just figured I'd have the talent to go ahead and do that, but I only put about 600-ish miles of effort overall accounts this time around. Honestly, I didn't have much of an urge to try and do anything. Before even the last day, I was content just finishing in quote-unquote second, or whatever it may be, because, the event wasn't over. I didn't know for sure if I'd end up in second or not, but it first stayed the same high 6, or anything worse than a 127.507, then I was content, because again, this is yet again just a trust me on it. But in October, there was no one that actually ran a clean lap in the entire world better than a 127.507. Maybe if it would probably end up being Senna, Bull, USR Senna, whatever, wanted to run a clean lap and put in tons of effort, could have eventually do it. I'll admit, between us two, we're quite equal. I think he might be a slightly more motivated cheater. I'm slightly more motivated running for clean laps, so I put way more mileage overall into running clean laps. Pretty sure he put more mileage overall into running wall riding laps. But nonetheless, for the first 80% of the track, it's doing the same thing. So, I mean, I'll say it straightforward is I think he would have been capable of running around about a 127.507. But again, this is yet just another trust me. In a clean lap, he never did. His best was actually a high 6 last time around before he decided to cheat. And his best this time, and it's documented, is a high 6. So initially, with even a few days left to go with this event, I didn't really have any urge to try and beat it because you know what? I already beat it last time around. It's the same physics. I saw that I'm the better clean driver, but then I decided to go ahead and make another count too because I felt guilty about not doing that last time to see the Europe-ish results. But that's ultimately what I will never know is the Europe-ish results from last time. If somebody else has those, that's amazing. Like if you took a screenshot or video of close to when that event ended in October of the Europe-ish results, it would be greatly appreciated if you could post that in the comments or link it or whatever it may be, or post it even on GD Planet, whatever. That would be greatly appreciated, no matter what the results were. It'd just be nice information to have. And if it turns out that if there too, that if someone cheated but I ran a better lap cheating, or best case scenario, no one cheated and I ran a better lap not cheating, then it makes me feel better. But even if not, that's still good information to have. That's something that I, as an individual, won't know. Someone would have to provide that information for me to then know. So this time around, I figured just to make it as good of information as I could possibly provide, but still isn't all that good of information because, again, Kodos Prime just isn't updating the stuff anymore, so I can really only provide my side of the story. At least Kudos Prime provides unbiased of everyone in the world, and then you can click on the individual account and see information there. I can really only provide my side of the story, but everybody can only provide their own side of the story now. So if anybody else wants to make a video on this, that's also perfectly fine, because an individual can only provide their side of the story now. There's really no way to see an unbiased, complete information on all this. So yeah, there's that. So anyway, I decided to go ahead and make the Europe-ish account because I just wanted to provide as accurate and full scale of information as good. And then lo and behold, everyone cheated there. So my hope was I would make the count and then nobody ran better than 127.507, so I just wouldn't have to do anything more than make the count. Maybe it would actually end up like what happened in the Asia Oceania region, that even this time around I had a faster lap. And if that were the case, I probably would have gone ahead. Say if the fastest was like a 127.8 or whatever, would have gone ahead and tried to beat that and probably done it relatively easy-ish. That's to say, then I got all three regions cleanly. Again, with the US, I got it last time, but still. No, everyone in the Europe-ish region that was on the rankings cheated. Now, that's yet another asterisk that I'm not honestly too worried about this asterisk, because there's literally no way to prove it whatsoever. Because somebody could have ran a clean lap better than that 127.507. Because even before I ran my lap in the Europe-ish region, the 127.1 was the lowest saved replay, so therefore 10th out of 10. 127.1 is quite a big difference to 127. Well, pretty much it wouldn't have needed a 4 to beat mine. So I would say even 20th place was probably faster than my clean 127.507. But I think it's fair to say that everyone ended up doing it in a dirty way. There's literally no way to prove that whatsoever because the leaderboard just simply did not upload past the 10th place player. Unless somebody took the time to then save the replay and then share it from the PlayStation itself, like I've done and stuff like that. There's no way to prove it. And even then, there could be no way that they could actually prove if they were the top time. All they could do is prove that, yes, they were faster than my 127.507. Theoretically, somebody could have been faster than them, too. But we wouldn't know because they cheated, and it wouldn't have shown up in the top 10 to show for sure that they cheated. Everyone in the top 10, I looked, they cheated. I'm not opposed to that necessarily happening of the individuals. Don't hate the player, I hate the game, and I definitely hate the system of the game to allow cheating. Now, granted, I will say also straightforward, before this event started, and I think it actually slightly overlapped. Yeah, I think actually for 2 or 3 days it did overlap. There was a time trial in GT Sport at Tokyo Expressway Central Outer Loop in the 97 or 8, I can't remember which one it is, Honda Civic, and I finished 5th in the world with that one, behind US or Senna or Bull or whatever. Who won it? Great job. I mean, I'll admit, I always wasn't good with stock front wheel drives, and GT Sport, I'm pretty sure I've said that since the closed beta. GT Sport did some physics iterations as like GT7. They had all the physics iterations of GT Sport. I was just never very good with stock front wheel drive cars. I gave it as much of a shot as I really felt like driving that car. I just did not enjoy driving that car. I put maybe 300 or 400 miles into that. Even if I were to put 2,000 miles into that time trial, I wouldn't have won. I mean, I've just never been good with the stock front wheel drive cars in GT Sport. So I'll admit, for that particular time trial, no, I am not as skilled as. Actually, there we go. That was a good time. As that player. There. And also, that's yet another screen showing the time. So I can see for sure. It is a 6:87. I think that's what I said. And unless there's more proof of it. And then that's his alt account behind there. So yeah. I didn't run the alt account GTS on this one because I didn't see much of a point to. Yeah, I could have ran it and then cheated with it and then won the US region or gone ahead and got a better than 126.6 and won it overall for this time around. But I just didn't really feel much point in it because no one this time around in the Americas region cheated, so I wanted to keep it that way, so I just didn't really bother with the alt account. I did a few last first challenges this time around. You saw a clip of that on the channel. Somebody tried to wreck me, and I caught up to them after being kind of sort of wrecked. The other driver definitely deserved a penalty for it, and I was able to catch up like a solid 4 seconds in about 40 seconds. And was able to wreck the other driver, giving the other driver the penalty. So I manufactured the camera there. That clip's on there. If y'all want to see more stuff like that, leave it in the comments. If y'all want to see more context of this type of thing, leave it in the comments. Again, there's only really so much that I can truly say. But there's still just this hour non-stop of me trying to beat the most recent time. And that's honestly something, too, is that, yeah, last time around, between all accounts, I put around about 4,000 miles into it. This time around, I put 600-ish miles into it. And I can actually check. Let me check. I'm seeing how many miles I ended up putting in this day in it. Wait for it, folks. I'm getting. I know this is a bit. I'll just show the rest, and I can still be in the background. There. Once that part of the screen goes off, I can see miles. I don't know how long it'll take for this part to go off. Maybe I need to press it There we go. So there's still a bit of this clip left, and I'm at 300. Is that 306? 306 miles in one day. So basically, I put the majority of miles in one day because I think it was a little bit before midnight. I ran the 37 miles on the new account. So let's just say, because there's still a bit of this clip left, that I put about 400 of the 600 miles in the last 5 hours-ish of the event. I suck nowadays with trying to do non-stop driving. If I were to pace myself and instead trying to do what did it end up being? 500, whatever. Let's just say 400 miles in the last 5 hours. If I would have paced it out to 200 miles each day of the last 2 days, I probably could have beat it. I mean, that's just my own fault there for trying to do it. Once I just figured that, hey, I already had the world record for the entirety of this month's go anyway, so I figured just throw it at the wall and see if it sticks and see if I can go ahead and get the clean record too. Because I already had the clean record last time. Again, there's no way to definitively prove that because I didn't know what happened in the Europus region. And this Senna bull didn't run a clean lap last time around to see what it ended up equaling to or whatever. Except for the alt account, which I think he ran quite early. So, I mean, like me running that lap that ended up sticking for this one early, just a lap ran in the first day or two of an event. If that's all you end up doing for trying to do it clean, then that's obviously just not going to be as good as what you can get at the end if you put day after day of effort into it. That's just fairly straightforward. So that in and of itself is an asterisk just in terms of effort. I put more effort into the clean side of things last time around, and arguably it's the dirty side of things this time around. Last time around, though, it was vice versa. But this time around, I just didn't put nearly as much effort really into either, because I just wasn't all that motivated. Like I said, if I really wanted to, I could have done 200 miles a day for last week, and given that I ran a 127.507 last time around, I'm sure I could have beat a high 6 this time around. But because he ran a 126.4 last time around in a dirty lap, I think around about that's the equivalent of a 127.5 ish for a clean lap. There's really no way to say absolutely certain because I don't even know if he uses a wheel or controller, and that might make a difference while riding, whatever it may be. But I'll just say the 126.4 that was ran last time, that I know of what I know of, there's no video showing it anymore. If you watched the video at the time, once I did, then you saw it. If somebody saved the video, that's great as well. But from what I remember, our split times were pretty even between my 127.507 and the 126.4 up to like this point. Like, actually, that was a good time where I just passed there. I think it was like a 1013 each. Somewhere around, I can't remember the decimal points, especially of the one in October. You can go look at my decimal points for the 507. But to very much end off with that too, is I'm going to, so that 127.507, and in with kind of the final asterisk to end off the video. That 127.507 was quite the insane lap. I mean, here is my best from before it. 573. And this is I would say this is after roughly 3,500-ish of the 4,000 miles I put into the event. After this, I don't really think I tried to improve my time particularly. I'm sure I did some time or qualifying or whatever you want to call it. Laps, just waiting for the next race to start or whatever. I wasn't taking it seriously. After this, I just did last first challenges and things like that. From a 700th of a second difference in one lap is quite big after doing 3,500-ish miles. And this is kind of sort of the final asterisk. Around this turn, you can see that yes, I nudged the wall. The sound isn't on because I'm specitating or whatever you want to call it over it. But I mean, you can see of the angle of my car. Is yes, I nudged the wall there. There's been a debate with quite a few people do it, but to an extent, I've been right into that debate of stuff like this. There was a Honda S800 or 600 or whatever the one that's in modern Gran Turismo is at BB Speedway time trial back in GT Sport before 7 came out, quite a bit before. And I nudged a wall there to help the time an extremely small amount. But I mean, what I think can be said pretty much definitively about something like this is that before I saw just straight up wall riding, and that's obvious cheating that should have been penalized immediately, but instead, because Gran Turismo's always had to delete penalties in Sport and 7, they actually worked not nearly as bad in 6. They were far from good in 6. There's videos about me complaining at a penalty system in 6, but they were better than what they were in Sport 7. But anyway, the point being, the penalties were so delayed that I was able to cross the line completely when I started wall riding at this point with a solid 16 seconds left in the lap, and it still didn't even give the penalty to after I crossed the line. Doing something wrong, it was probably a second after I crossed the line, so 17 seconds before they gave a penalty. Something like this is extremely tame compared to the obvious wall riding. The way that I looked at this, I said it then, I say it now, is there's such thing in NASCAR called the Darlington Stripe. It's just one of those things where that particular track is formatted in a way to where nudging the wall a little bit doesn't particularly hurt things, and some drivers in some eras have argued at some points it could actually help. I mean, we've seen in NASCAR quite recently the Hail Melon thing, where Ross Chastain just did a straight up wall ride, the equivalent of what was going on in the lap that was straight up cheating, and that in the one time it was used was allowed. If it were to happen again, maybe not, but the one time it happened, it was such a crazy thing that there was really no precedent for it, and it was allowed. That's something with GT Sport. The first time around in October when this event happened, and there's cheating, then whatever. It was the first time they should have fixed it. They didn't. The first time around, I didn't cheat. Second time around, after seeing that all of the European region cheated, I decided to cheat. Straightforward. Ross Chastain wall riding, blatant obvious cheating. The second time around should obviously be penalized. Darlington Stripe, what's been going on since Darlington's one of the earliest tracks in NASCAR history. Nah, probably not. Now, granted, if I was in an open wheel car doing this, then yeah, it could be construed as bad. But the way that I see it is this is the only turn on this entire track to where doing something like this doesn't just automatically hurt the time. Do this on any other turn of the track, and it's going to be slower. This particular turn, though, just for whatever reason, the angles and speed and such of the turn, whatever, it might gain me a hundredth or two of a second. But the way that I see it is that look at how much difference in time there was between these two laps. Again, it's just a trust me, but you can see the miles I put in this day to it. I already had 3,500 or so miles into the event at this point. There's no way that I gained 7 hundredths of a second just from this turn on up. Because I had been doing this for 3,500 miles-ish at this point. Doing pretty much the same motion. And suddenly I gained 7 hundredths of a second. I would say, and this truly is just to trust me on it, but I guess if you really wanted to, you could take a stock Audi TTS and then go to this track right now in GT Sport and you could try it for yourself. I would say that yes, it gains time here, but it probably gains, I would say on average, about 2 hundredths of a second there. Does that matter? Yeah, sure. 200th of a second is not nothing. That's enough to where you can notice it, so it is worth trying to do it in the most effective way each time. If you mess up, it probably doesn't really lose you any time. There's no penalty, and in real life, I wouldn't really say doing it damages this particular car. Again, open wheel, nah, that damages it. Don't do it in open wheel. That should be a penalty, or they could have damage and it would damage the open wheel, whatever. But in a car like this, like Darlington Stripe and NASCAR, it doesn't hurt the car. It doesn't gain much time, but it's one of those where it's a noticeable just aspect of the track. In NASCAR, it's really only one track where that works, except for Martinsville, when somebody gives a straight up wall ride. It worked that one time, but hopefully it does get penalized again. If it does happen, we'll see. It's just one track in NASCAR where that's the thing. But it's been a thing for a long while. It's just one track in GT Sport, kinda. Well, actually, it's maybe 3 tracks in GT Sport. As I said, it's with BB and this one, and then there are instances where it sort of kind of worked at Lumen Bay Oval as well. Granted, there's quite a few tracks where you can just straight up wall ride, but in the quite a few tracks in which there's wall riding, they give correct penalties. For whatever here, they just don't. And again, the first time around when that happened on October is not the end of the world, because they didn't know it was going to happen, theoretically. This time around, though, they should have known. They saw it. They should have fixed it. And not allow for just straight up wall riding. But they did, so I did it, and I technically won. I beat everyone in the world. But this is the final asterisk, is that yes, you could call this shady. Some people may consider it straight up cheating. But this has been ingrained in this track since Gran Turismo Sport closed beta. People's known about this for so cotton picking long that I'm not going to be opposed if they take it out. If they penalize you for doing something along the lines of this, whatever it may be, I'm not opposed to it happening. But I'm not really going to make a big fuss of it being fixed either. It's the first thing they need to do is fix the obvious blatant wall riding. I think we can all agree on that. The obvious blatant wall riding needs fixed. Some people say that this could also be fixed, and they see no reason why they couldn't just fix them both at the same time. But I think we can all agree if for whatever reason they had to fix one before the other, they'd fix the blatant wall riding first. So, I mean, that's kind of the final asterisk. On top of many other asterisks is that, yes, the 127.507 was not exactly the cleanest of laps. And I cannot remember the specifics of the 127.573, but I give it a solid 99% chance that I did roughly the same motion here as I did in the .573 as well. But nonetheless, that 573 was still faster than anyone else in the world than clean. Again, this surely is just trust me on, but I do remember. Actually, maybe there's a picture. If I look hard enough, I think they're actually. I took a screenshot of it in a message I sent to Cinnabole about where he cheated the first time in October. I showed a picture of the Asia Oceania region rankings because I already had them all part-time wizard again. The top time in that region was a 127.60 something, and there was no cheating. I watched the replay with the more part-time wizard account, and there was no cheating. So even that 573, and again, I think the picture might only exist in messages, so I could show it, but it wouldn't be full screen because I don't want to really show the rest of the message to someone else. They probably wouldn't want it. But yeah, even the 573 was faster than anyone in the entire world clean. So the way that I'll see it, the final thing that I'll say is that I think there's a legitimate argument both for and against that I have the world record, if I really wanted to get it, for both wall riding and being clean. There's an argument for it and against it. There's no argument whatsoever. I actually do have the world record for this time around, but I cheated to get that world record. Both of which are pretty indisputable. I have the world record. I saw the rankings for all of the regions, but I cheated doing it. It's straightforward. It's really more October that's more confusing. The way that I see it is I put in the vast majority of my effort into not cheating. And I can say confidently that from the information that I currently know, I have the world record combining both times for not cheating. But there is also a way that people could provide more information to show that maybe I don't have that record. But until that information is shown, I feel like I put in enough information to show that there's a legitimate argument that I have the world record for Tokyo Expressway Center out of loop in the Audi TTS stock version of it, both for all riding and a clean lap. With a controller, with automatic transmission, and with cerebral palsy. All things considered, and this event happened in previous years as well, but some can't remember the physics system back then. I think I saw where this event was around in 2017 or 18 or something. I'm pretty sure the physics system was different back then, so that makes a bit of it. All things considered, I'm pretty sure I've ran at least 6,000 miles with this car and track combination. Granted, thousands of those miles are in different physics systems and still. But I feel like after well over 5,000 miles, I'll put it like that, well over 5,000 miles of this car and track combination, I can say that there's a legitimate argument, although there's really no way to downright confirm it, that I'm the fastest in the world, both for all riding and not. And while I wish there was more information out there that could have it be worth the bigger yeehaw, I feel like that's worth a pretty cotton picking dandy yeehaw, to say the least. Yeehaw! The 127.507 is by far the most impressive one, by the way. I'm happy that I was able to get world riding record for this time around. I feel like it's some proof that I could do it. Even better if I really wanted to, but that 127.507 was within 2 or 3 hundredths of the best I could physically ever do. And I couldn't do it this time around, so maybe that'll get a kind of dark video about that in the future. But for now, I'll just enjoy that. I feel like I put enough information to say that from what I know of, I genuinely have a world record. Yeehaw.